Hello, everyone, and welcome to another odd-shaped panel. You might notice there's something a little bit more spooky about this episode. It's Halloween. It's great to have everybody when it's not our usual night. Usually we get together Monday nights. It's a Friday, so I guess it's more of a shindig than an episode. So hopefully we got some creatures of the night ready to visit us and talk about some Halloween-themed questions. Anything else?
No, I guess let's get this started.
All right.
We will have like a couple little giveaways for the people who dressed up. The top 3 costumes are going to get some prizes too. So can't wait to see what you guys are wearing.
Yes.
So I have Morgan on the list first.
Would we have first besides the host of Horror House Podcast?
And our buddy.
And our buddy, more importantly, our buddy. But he's as spooky as they come.
Yeah.
If you haven't noticed, I like the word spooky.
We'd be a bunch of barn pots if we didn't put Morgan first.
Yeah, no, I don't like that. I don't like being called a barn pot.
I have come. I've decided, because I don't have a proper costume, I've decided I am a horror anthology narrator from the 70s.
You know,
With the
I was
turtleneck and the weird blazer.
I was gonna ask you if you were gonna read us a scary story because you definitely look the part.
I can do if you want me to. Although it might take up a bit too much time.
Morgan stayed up late tonight. He's all the way over in Manchester, UK, and it's very late, but he could not miss this episode because he's a horror connoisseur. Why don't you plug your show real quick while we have you?
Yeah, I do a ridiculous little podcast called Horror House, which goes up every other Sunday. This Sunday will be one. This is at the Halloween special, and you two have been on already. We've recorded, and a plethora of other guests. So it should be a really fun one. But yeah, every other weekend you can follow that at Horror House Pod on Twitter.
Awesome. And I do recommend that. We actually were supposed to talk to Morgan for 10 minutes yesterday, but ended up staying on for
2 hours
because he's so easy to talk to. But I guess let's start out with the first question here. Cal, the Kingslayer, he's over in the chat. He sent us a question, and it says, what is your favorite Halloween TV episode?
The zombie outbreak one from Community.
What is up with that cat? Is someone throwing it? Let's keep moving. Let's not keep moving, because there is an insane cat down here.
But what about the zombies?
Back burner, Troy. This cat has to be dealt with. There it is. Grab it.
Good
Nice.
episode.
I swear I said this on like TV fights earlier this week as well. But yeah, you know, The Simpsons can have all its treehouse of horror things. Forget about them. Community is where it's at, because that a sort of virus outbreak at a Halloween party with the soundtrack by ABBA exclusively. It's just ABBA songs. It's incredible. And the costumes in that are great. Troy and Abed as Ripley and the Xenomorph is a highlight.
It's kind of hard to talk to through and see, but
That's a T-Rex?
it is. Yeah, it's Rex. We got it when Jurassic World came out this past year. I thought I was gonna be able to wear it for Halloween last year, but it didn't work out very well. It's kind of hard to see through. Of course, my favorite is the Community episode, but Morgan had already mentioned it, so my fallback was the Halloween episodes for Modern Family. And I love how they have, it's like a running joke each year. Like Claire always loves the gore and wants to scare everyone in the family. So that's her, like what she tries every year. And she usually succeeds in like scaring everyone in the family, like, and just everyone in the neighborhood. Like she doesn't care. It's like her favorite holiday. And every year that she just tries to keep one-upping herself. Like they did a murder house one year. It's just funny. It's just a really funny show. And I definitely have enjoyed that they keep trying to do like a new one each year and keep the theme going.
I don't know what's going on with this bird. Like, it's really serious right now.
Here we go.
This bird is mean. I don't even know if it's going to come out. This is the bird. This is the bird. This is the bird.
Epidemiology, the episode from Community. Is that the one where the dean goes,
Halloween!
Happy Halloween!
I think so, yeah.
Oh, Halloween!
Yeah, so okay. Good.
So it's epidemiology.
Halloween week!
Epidemiology is a really good episode. It's just a really great Halloween episode. Troy and Abed have this excellent, like,
their alien costume is awesome.
Yeah, a lot of people have been talking about that episode tonight, actually.
So good.
Tell you, though, who takes the cake in that episode and any episode that he comes dressed up is the dean. Like, the dean is just hilarious, man.
That's true. He's got a really cute witch outfit on.
Like, I love Troy and Abed, but the dean just, Dean takes the cake.
Apparently everybody else also likes the episode of Community that I like with the zombie outbreak. I just think that's a classic way to, like, do the zombie thing, but like in a more organic way. And it just seems so like Dean Pelton to like cheap out on the ingredients. Like, oh yeah, I'll get this army surplus beef and it'll be fine. And then when they have to come in and wipe everyone's memories at the end, it's just a great episode. And then of course all like the little treehouse of horrors from the Simpsons. My absolute favorite of those is the sequence that has the Shining, which of course in their universe is the Shinning. I think that also has the one where they're eating the children because they ran out of food. And then my favorite, the Sound of Thunder parody, where Homer keeps messing with the toaster time machine and keeps ruining the future. And if he had just stayed in that one future that where he was rich and his life was perfect, but nobody had heard of a donut.
Fabulous house, well-behaved kids, sisters-in-law dead, luxury sedan. Woohoo! I hit the jackpot! Marge, dear, would you kindly pass me a donut?
Donut? What's a donut? It's raining again.
If you just waited one more minute,
you would have seen the rain.
Yeah, the raining donuts. Yeah, the irony of that. I love that story, and I love that how they played with that classic piece of literature.
Really? Oh my God.
I'm supposed to be Dan. I don't have red flannel, but and I have hair, but yeah. Oh yeah, and I need to shave. But as you guys know, I'm a huge Superman fan, and well, Smallville right here has 2 Halloween episodes, but the one I'm going to talk about is I find better, and it was in season 5, and it was when basically Lana joins a sorority and they end up being vampires.
What the hell are you? We're Try Size, the hottest vampires ever.
Now, the main bad guy, spoiler alert if you haven't seen Smallville, but this has been a long time, so basically, James Marsters is Brainiac, or Professor Fine, and he says a line that is just hilarious, and he goes, "There's no such thing as vampires," which I find hilarious because he was Spike from Buffy.
Not only that, the lead sorority girl, who is a vampire's name, is Buffy.
Exactly. It is a great episode, and I'm just surprised that it's like Superman with vampires. Somehow you would think that would be really stupid, But it works.
I know Candace isn't here yet, so I'm going to represent her as well for this answer. It's going to be a Buffy answer, because I always feel Buffy had great Halloween episodes, be it the one where they go to Ethan Raine's Halloween costume store, and whatever costume they buy from there, they turn into that kind of thing.
That's a good one. That Ethan Raine, dastardly. Mine, obviously, is a Buffy the Vampire Slayer episode. And it's Fear Itself, Season 4. Buffy and the gang go to college, and they get really excited because they get invited to a frat party. But I think what makes it a standout episode for me is that it's a comedy, and you don't realize that it's a comedy because it's actually one of the scarier episodes as well. So essentially, they go to a haunted house in this frat, and these kids like draw a ridiculous symbol on the floor from like some Wiccan book that they found in the library, thinking that they're going to be like extra hardcore about their Halloween. And one of the kids, played by the Black Ranger, slices his finger open while he's making all of his preparations for the night, and he bleeds on the symbol, and it like does this like time shift or like this dimensional shift in the house, so that you the episode's called Fear Itself because you basically see what you're most afraid of. So it kind of serves as like a regular plot point for the season because of the narrative where Buffy and her friends go to college, and each of them has their own separate fear stemming from their new life as an adult. So like Willow turns invisible because she's afraid that her friends are going to leave her behind, and Xander turns invisible because he's afraid his friends are going to leave him behind. Willow, her energy, her powers become out of control because she's afraid she can't control her witchcraft. And then Buffy's scene is really scary. She falls through the floor and is in a zombie graveyard, but like this time, instead of being able to slay the vampires, she can't kill the zombies because they don't have hearts anyway. So she's just being like overtaken by these zombies in the basement. And then there's like a really funny element because Xander is dating Anya, who used to be a demon, and she doesn't understand how Halloween works, so they have to explain it to her because like demons take a break on Halloween. So she dresses as the thing that she thinks is the most terrifying, and she comes as a bunny. Like a big fluffy bunny with like a furry costume. It's really good. And then the plot twist is hilarious at the end, which I won't ruin in case you guys want to be festive and watch it.
Yeah, and it's like, it's like if there's enough blood spilled in a certain room, I think it's like the attic, this monster's supposed to come out and it looks like really evil. And then the one thing they didn't read that it said was like true to size, like that picture in the book is true to size. So it was a little thing, it was cute. I thought.
I am the Dark Lord of Nightmares, the bringer of terror. Tremble before me. Fear me.
He's so cute.
Mine is an episode of American Dad where they try to establish that Stan usually has the scariest haunted house, but when one of his newer neighbors, one of the newer characters in the show, Buckle, who lives across the street, apparently he was a wild man from a previous episode where Stan tried to trick the family into believing it was the apocalypse, and then eventually Buckle got married and moved into their street. And he used to be a Imagineer at Disney.
Oh, wow.
So his entire house was like this terrifying, monstrous place where like a blow-up goblin would pop out of their mailbox saying like, "I'll eat your brains" or something like that, and then deflate back into the mailbox, and all sorts of other stuff. So Stan, in an attempt to scare the living daylights out of everyone, instead of going with fake horror, actually had his CIA links bring in actual serial killers to keep in the house, and they ended up getting free.
Of course.
And so it's a really great episode.
I'm gonna go with the new Rocky Horror Picture Show remake because that was on TV on the Fox channel. And I loved it, man. I'm claiming it's better than the original. I enjoyed it so much,
I haven't watched it yet, so I don't know how to react because it just seems so crazy to me. Tim Curry's just the man, but I'm gonna give it a shot for sure.
Tim Curry's in it. He's in it.
Did you know that, babe?
I did hear that he does a fan count.
That's cool. All right. So yeah,
He's the narrator.
Yeah, I love Halloween TV episodes. How I Met Your Mother comes to mind with the slutty pumpkin. early on, but I am a little obsessed with this David S. Pumpkins SNL skit with Tom Hanks. It is, it's truly absurd and fun in the best ways. So I also want to have an honorable mention to SNL this year. They had some good skits.
Any questions?
So question number 2 comes to us from our buddy Billy at Buster Bill, and he asked, perfect question for Morgan, by the way, what movie will always scare you?
See, right, I don't know. I think this is why I sort of love horror, but it's because I don't tend to get scared very easily. But I have literally just finished watching The Omen, and my God, it's unsettling as hell. It really, my heart was just all throughout it, because, you know, it just sort of ramps up and ramps up and ramps up the mystery, the story, and then you get to, like, when Gregory Peck and the photographer go to Italy, and they're just trying to find out everything, and then the whole happens, and the dogs, again, I swear we talked about dogs the other day, like large dogs being terrifying. There is some terrifying large dogs in The Omen. Yeah, The Omen always gets in there, as does John Carpenter's The Thing. That's a similar one. It ramps up the tension. It's stuff like that that scares me more than stuff like jump scare.
Nothing really, like Morgan, I was saying, like, nothing like really scares me, but when I was a kid, I remember the movie It scaring me, and I always made afraid of clowns until then. Like, when I was older, I went to, like, an insane clown house, like, in, like, for Halloween one time, and it didn't scare me, so I was like, I'm over my fear of clowns, but I guess when I was little, it scared me. I don't know if it still will scare me, because I know there's a reboot coming out, so I'd be interested in seeing that and see if it still scares me.
Movies that involve, like, demons, like any type of possession, usually is, like, what creeps me out the most. One in particular that I know got me, like, when it came out was The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Like, that one, like, just like the moment where she gets possessed in itself, just watching her, like, just crooked her body and everything, like, that was just really disturbing. And I remember, like, that is, like, one of the few times I remember, like, really getting scared in a movie theater.
Typically, movies that involve it doesn't scare me, I just can't watch it. Like Hostel is one that, even though it doesn't, like, I'm not awake at night about it, I can't watch that movie. Anything that involves, like, visual body horror and, like, a person screaming in pain, I feel it, so I can't watch it.
Torture porn.
Yeah, I can't think of any, like, specific movies, because I obviously don't watch, like, a lot of horror movies like a lot of people in the chat, and I know y'all are very versed in the genre. I mean, when I was a little kid, I was afraid of episodes of Lassie, so, like, lots of things would scare me.
Like, my parents are very cool, and they kind of let me watch horror movies from a young age, so, like, I can watch somebody just get their foot sawed off with a piano wire in a movie and be like, huh, that's funny. Like, that practical effect. I'm, like, really desensitized.
Well, I look away more than she does.
Yeah, he had to walk out of the room for some stuff, and I'm like, it's not that bad.
My answer is not a popular answer.
Neither's mine. Sorry. Neither one of our answers.
My answer is E.T. I'm sorry, but that movie is horrifying, and I just can't. Like, I tried recently, like, what was it, like a year or two ago? It was on, and I was like,
we got like 10 minutes.
Let me try it. And then he, like, jumps out of the dolls with the hair, and I'm like, no.
Who's scarier, E.T. or the,
Hands down. E.T. over Skeksis any day of the week. He is so scary with his weird, like, creepy, like,
the neck
grandpa finger. Ew. Ugh. I don't understand how, like, legions of children worldwide were like, E.T., yay! Oh, my mom tried taking me to see that, and I cried.
I have a weakness for puppets, so, like, anything that's like that, I'm like, it's my best friend.
There's a reason for it. So this is the end. I was brought up uber, ultra, super califragilistic Christian, like just Christian. So I'm watching this movie with Candace. I'm like, ha ha ha, oh ha ha.
This is totally happening next Thursday.
Yeah,
I'm like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
This kid is like in a cold sweat, like.
I was like, this is gonna happen. There's gonna be a giant penis falling on top of a building.
I go with the movie that scared me really deeply, and that's David Cronenberg's Dead Ringers, with the with like the psychotic identical twins, gynecologists, and it just goes like real crazy, and like that's the stuff that scares me, is like psychological horror, because I take antipsychotic medication and have a lot of difficulties with that and everything. So psychological horror really gets me. And
you said earlier it doesn't have to be horror. It doesn't. I actually had a couple. I'm gonna get probably laughed at, but as a kid, I hated Gremlins because those little things freaked me out. I mean, like there's this unsettling music, and then the Gremlins. I just had a fear they would all just come up on me and then just pile on top of me, and then I don't know. They would just do something weird, and I didn't like Gremlins, but the one I'm going to actually choose is The Exorcist. Not only does it help that it's based on a true event, happened in St. Louis, and actually it's probably about 40 minutes from where I live, the hospital, but it still holds up to this day, and it's really incredible, and just you're really surprised that a film made in the 70s could still be as creepy as it is today, especially with all the scenes that they put in when they re-released it. That makes it even more scary, and it's like, you might not think that, but when you look at Reagan's face, when she's possessed, let that haunt your nightmares.
Yeah.
It did for me. It still does.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go Exorcist on this one. It has to be The Exorcist. There's just, again, with having, a child, and to get her to do the things that they have Reagan do in that movie, I'll never believe, holy crap, how did her parents let her do some of these things?
Yeah.
But the special effects are amazing in that movie. They really, I know that there are moments that get corny, but you have to think about how old that movie and that it's all practical effects.
Yeah, definitely.
A lot of it really works, and it creeps me out, man. I feel like a lot of that has to do with the fact that I was not raised in a religious environment. So just to have that moment where oh shit, this is real, in the movie, it's really happening to them. That's it. It's reality. That's so scary to me, you know?
I don't know if I have one that scares me every time, but there's definitely one that gets me every time, as far as you know what I mean. And it's cabin fever, but there's a scene where it's a skin-eating disease. That's the whole thing of cabin fever, and the girl goes into the shower to shave her legs, and I'm still very traumatized. I'm traumatized.
The lovely Ashley at That Mrs. Davis asked, what scary or horror-themed story would you like to see adapted to TV or film?
I love that Ashley brings up a question about literature, because as Ashley will kill me for, I don't read a lot. So I don't really have an answer to this question, but it's still sort of an answer. I would like to see readaptations of Edgar Allan Poe stuff. But obviously the old, everyone knows how much if they know me at all, everyone knows how much I love every single Vincent Price, Edgar Allan Poe film out there. But you get people like a Benedict Cumberbatch or a Tom Hiddleston in these films. They're sort of dark. They're British, which helps, of course. But yeah, they're sort of dark, they're brooding people, and I think it would just really work with the sort of tone, because I think they could also bring a lot of charm if it's done well. Like with anything, if it's done well, I'd love to see that. I really would.
I'd like to see a proper adaptation of the gothic horror classic Poe's A Cask of Amontillado, where these two gentlemen, it's during a carnival, and they've had a few to drink, and like, oh cool, I have this Amontillado, why don't you come into my catacombs with me? And like, it's like all this deception, and he walls the guy up in the catacombs where no one will be able to find him, and it's just like it's not a long story, but there was like a movie version of it because we have access to it in our teaching materials because it's in our textbook, but the movie stars the dad from Home Alone, so it's not really that great of an adaptation.
You should check out, I believe it's called Tales of Terror, and Vincent Price is in it, and it's got 3 stories from Poe. And one of them is kind of like, it's like the Black Cat mixed with that story put together. But it's got Vincent Price and it's pretty cool. You should check that one out sometime.
Awesome.
That is my Edgar Allan Poe story, so I'm down. She knows. She pointed right at me when you started talking.
Yeah, my dad was Poe in the chat too, I saw.
Yeah, we like reading that one in class. It's fun. The kids are horrified.
No one ever talks about it, but The Raven, John Cusack as Edgar Allan Poe, I actually really like that movie where like a serial killer was like imitating his stories and he had to solve them. It's a really interesting concept.
There was that cool Poe Master in the 2nd season that we were watching too.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah,
That was your
like
Reanimator dude, right?
Yeah, the director of Reanimator
It's called
did the Black Cat
Oh.
For the 2nd season of Masters of Horror, and it was pretty cool. But yeah, you gotta love Poe. He's great. He
Nice.
inspired H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah.
So
I haven't read too many like horror like stories or books, other than like Edgar Allan Poe and stuff. But like I thought about more or less like a true story that I've always wanted to see done in a movie is Dr. H.H. Holmes, the like America's first serial killer. I've always wanted to see like him like then building the house and then all the different other stuff that went along with like how many people he potentially murdered. I think like they counted like they say potentially over 200 people that were killed in that house.
Yeah.
Hotel.
Yeah, I really liked American Horror Story Hotel because there's a character who Evan Peters I love, and that was him last year for Halloween. James Patrick March. He's like pretty much very much inspired by H. Holmes.
You think God is going to protect you from the head of this hammer, or the 6 floors you're about to fall?
As long as there is a God, men like you can kill thousands, millions, but you will never find peace.
But there is a movie in
they're
development.
Also, Leo's doing
Leonardo DiCaprio.
supposedly he's cast as H.H. Holmes, and they're doing that. But H.H. Holmes is really interesting if you guys aren't familiar with him because they basically called it the murder castle. He built like a huge house with like murder rooms and like hidden all kinds of like crazy stuff, and then like he would murder people and then he would strip the bodies into skeletons and then sell them to people in the medical field. So it's impossible to know how many people that he killed because he was like making a pretty penny selling off the skeletons and the evidence of the people he murdered, which that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and he would even, when the house was being constructed, he would have like one team do that and then fire them and then have another team do another so that no people would know the plan. Like, and you'd have stairs that went straight up the roof, like to the ceiling. It was
a very interesting building for sure.
Chuck Palahniuk wrote a book called Haunted.
Yes.
And I feel like that movie, like if HBO or Netflix made that like a miniseries, especially if it were animated, I feel like they would have like a lot of freedom if they animated it like really well. Like not necessarily Afro Samurai and like the anime quality of Afro Samurai, but like with like the super contrasting, art style and like, making it like really dark. Like I feel like they could probably do some damage with that. That first chapter will change you forever, dude. Like that first short story.
It will mess you up.
So my pick is the Theme of All.
What?
Just kidding.
Man!
Never even read it.
He's like a chapter into this piece, man.
I love the Thief of Mormo.
Yes.
That movie's so scary though. Rictus, terrifying.
So scary. Oh my god.
Yeah.
The Thief of Mormo is like a children's story that is not for children. That and it's so traumatizing. It's kind of like in a similar vein to Coraline, but I tend to think it's way scarier.
It is.
And really nightmarish characters that are like kind of scary in an innocent way because it's almost like through the eyes of this kid, but it is terrifying.
There was a book I read in like 4th or 5th grade, and it was meant to be scary, and it probably scared me a little bit at the time, but it was what passed for a young adult in the 90s. It's called The Doomstone, and it's about some kids that like visit their family in England, and I don't remember all the events that triggered it that went into it, but it involved this weird ancient monster that was sleeping under Stonehenge that somehow woke up and got free and was slaughtering cattle, and the kids had to stop it. But it was, the way they described it was really kind of terrifying because it looked like it was a living person with the skin stretched taut over the muscle and bones. So it was like the skin was so tight it was clear, and all sorts of other weird stuff about it. So I just remember just the thought of it was kind of a cool story.
I'd really like to see Anthony Burgess' The Wanting Seed turned into a movie. Have you read that one?
The author of A Clockwork Orange.
I haven't, but Kimber tells me that's the author of A Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, and a lot of people consider the Wanting Seed to be a loose sequel to Clockwork Orange. It takes place like 100 years after Clockwork Orange, and it's where the world is overpopulated, and the government has started like giving benefits to people who get into homosexual relationships. And in the book, all of the cops are homosexuals, and they wear black lipstick like I wear black lipstick. And it's a really cool story. It has cannibalism. Like, it's more of a sci-fi, but it definitely has horrific aspects. And I would just love to see it as a feature film or a TV show. Probably a TV show more so than anything. The way TV is kind of surpassing Hollywood right now. And
I don't know if you guys have heard of this one, but it's the girl, I forget what it's called, but it's like a girl who always has a ribbon on her neck. She never takes it off. Yeah. And it's a purple ribbon. And if I were to explain anything else, that would totally ruin the entire twist as to why she has it on. But
I'm pretty sure the story is from the book that I mentioned, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
yes, that's exactly. Those stories are terrifying.
So I grew up, I remember every Halloween I would check out these books from my elementary library. It was called Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. And I remember it very very specifically because it has like this illustrator who I don't see this kind of work.
Oh, okay.
And it's in a child's book, and there's a lot of cool stories called The Red Spot and High Beams, the basic stuff, but at the same time, I always thought it was really cool, and I really love the art style. So I would love for them to do it like a Sin City, but with CG to make it look exaggerated to match the style. I think Del Toro or somebody could do something like that, but CBS actually acquired the rights, and they said they were going to make it a movie in 2014, but I never heard or saw anything about it. Yeah, Randall knows what I'm talking about. There's a clown drawing when he's just coming out of the ground. It's really weird.
But also bring a lot of charm. If it's done well, like with anything, if it's done well, I'd love to see that. I really would.
Awesome, yeah. For this one, I would like to see a better adaptation of Sleepy Hollow, personally. I know I'm in a Tim Burton costume, but I was not the biggest fan of Sleepy Hollow. For whatever reason, it has some cool visuals, for sure, but that moment, with the witch where it goes really CG and her eyes bug out of her head and her tongue gets stuck out and stuff, it really kills it for me. And I think that Johnny Depp is a really strange casting for Ichabod Crane. personally, I would like to see somebody like Adrian Brody, or perhaps the dude who played Kylo Ren, Adam Driver.
Yes, get Adam Driver in.
Yeah, Ichabod Crane is very like, he's supposed to have like a big nose and like really skinny and gangly and awkward, and to me, to have like somebody like Johnny Depp who's just classically handsome,
Yeah.
and normal looking,
Well, it's
you
Tim
know,
Burton, so it has to be Johnny Depp.
yeah. But Johnny Depp is like, could you imagine a Tim Burton movie with, you know, at that time probably Adrian Brody as Ichabod Crane? It would have been awesome, you know, and it would have been nice to see something from those guys. But yeah, I would like at this point in time probably Adam Driver, and I'm not sure of a director, but someone cool that would like, it would bring something fresh to it, you know, like a true adaptation of what the Sleepy Hollow story really is.
That was an amazing, spooky, terrifying episode of Odd Shaped Panel, and it wouldn't have been scary at all if our great guest didn't come along with us tonight. Thank you everyone for joining us. If you want to speak to us outside of this, or if you want to speak to us here, please, you're welcome to come join the conversation. You can talk to us at Odd Shaped Panel on Twitter or Facebook, or if you specifically want to talk to Kimber, you can message her at...
I'm at SJ Plus Junkie with an IE at the end on Twitter.
And other than that, I don't think there's much you want me to know. If you want to see what we're talking about, we're always using the hashtag TUFFOSP. There you can find, I don't know, usually it's pictures of Mavis. But who doesn't like pictures of Mavis? See you next time. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Happy Halloween.
Ooh.
Down.